Chosen One, the divine hammer of justice has just shattered every illegal file, every corrupt surveillance operation, and every criminal conspiracy that dared to violate your sacred privacy. But God saw every violation, documented every crime, and just unleashed supernatural vengeance that obliterated their entire operation, while simultaneously exposing every conspirator to the world. Their illegal investigation into your background didn't just fail, it became the evidence that destroyed them completely, proving once again that no earthly power can stand against someone chosen by the Almighty. The heavens have opened and divine justice has struck with the force of cosmic lightning. Psychological studies confirm that when someone operates at frequencies beyond ordinary human consciousness, dark forces automatically mobilize to contain that light. But what science cannot explain is the supernatural protection surrounding the truly chosen. As you absorb these words, classified files are being shredded, surveillance equipment is mysteriously failing, and the entire criminal network that violated your privacy is collapsing under the weight of divine intervention. The invisible war waged against your spirit wasn't random persecution. It was confirmation that you carry something so powerful it threatens the very foundations of systems built to keep humanity enslaved to limitation. Your enemies discovered what you're only beginning to understand. You don't just succeed despite impossible odds, you operate under entirely different laws than ordinary mortals. Like a diamond that can only be seen clearly under intense pressure, your true nature has been revealed through the very attacks designed to destroy it. What happened to you was spiritual warfare disguised as bureaucratic procedure, and God just turned their most sophisticated weapons into instruments of their own destruction. The investigation they built around you was unlike anything constructed before. Multiple agencies assembled specialized teams, created new classification levels specifically for your file, developed entirely new surveillance protocols just to monitor your activities. Your case became their most expensive operation because standard procedures kept failing when applied to your life. There was no earthly explanation for your track record. Your victories came with supernatural consistency. Your timing was prophetically perfect. Your ability to navigate impossible situations looked less like learned skill and more like direct communication with cosmic intelligence. They documented protection that defied probability, connections that materialized exactly where needed, obstacles that dissolved before you even recognized they existed. The deeper they dug, the clearer it became that they weren't investigating a person. They were bumping up against a force that operated according to laws they couldn't comprehend or control. Their most sophisticated analysis tools kept returning results that shattered their algorithms. You weren't just an anomaly, you were proof that their entire understanding of power, success, and influence was fundamentally incomplete. What they discovered in their classified reports read like science fiction. Every major breakthrough in your life coincided with unexplained electromagnetic disturbances in your vicinity. Security cameras around you experienced mysterious glitches at crucial moments. Their attempts to plant surveillance devices near you resulted in equipment failures that their technicians couldn't explain. You existed inside some kind of protective field that made conventional espionage impossible. Your very presence seemed to scramble their most advanced technology. Digital recording equipment would malfunction whenever you discussed important matters. Satellite surveillance lost track of your location during crucial meetings. Even their human assets found themselves unable to remember crucial details about your conversations after leaving your presence. You operated within a zone of divine interference that rendered their most sophisticated tools useless. The investigation revealed something that shook their understanding of reality. Your decision-making process appeared to be influenced by information sources beyond their ability to monitor or intercept. You consistently made choices that seemed counterintuitive, but always proved correct. Your timing was so precise it suggested access to future knowledge. Your strategic thinking operated at levels that defied their psychological models. Every chosen one walks through this world carrying an invisible target, and you've felt its weight your entire life. That inexplicable magnetism that draws both admirers and enemies with equal intensity. That sense that certain people study you too closely, ask questions that probe too deeply, appear in your orbit with timing too convenient to be coincidence. You've been sensing the truth. Your success isn't just personal achievement, It's a direct threat to systems built on keeping humanity small, confused and dependent. The investigation against you wasn't initiated by any single agency or organization. It began when multiple institutions started receiving the same disturbing reports about someone whose influence seemed to expand exponentially, without following any recognizable patterns. Corporate intelligence firms noticed your business relationships defied market logic. Government analysts flagged your social connections as statistically impossible. Academic researchers studying success patterns found your achievements broke every predictive model developed in decades of research. Your profile created panic in boardrooms where powerful individuals realized their traditional methods of control and influence had no effect on someone like you. Financial institutions couldn't explain how your ventures succeeded when their algorithms predicted failure. Political strategists couldn't understand how your opinions influenced public discourse without following conventional channels of media manipulation. Social scientists couldn't categorize your impact using any existing frameworks for measuring human influence. The surveillance operation against you required resources typically reserved for threats to national security. Specialized teams were assembled from different agencies, each bringing expertise designed to uncover secrets from the most protected individuals on Earth. Cryptographers worked to decode patterns in your communications. Behavioral analysts studied your movements for psychological insights. Financial investigators traced every transaction in your history, looking for illegal funding sources. Your success appeared to be supported by forces operating outside human understanding. Your network of relationships included people who should never have crossed paths with someone of your background. Your opportunities materialized through chains of events so unlikely that probability experts refused to calculate the odds. Your protection from various threats occurred through coincidences that statisticians called mathematically impossible. These forces understood something about you that you're only now beginning to grasp fully. Every breakthrough you've achieved, every limitation you've shattered, every problem you've solved that left others speechless, has sent shockwaves through invisible hierarchies that depend on scarcity and limitation to maintain control. Your natural authority exposes the artificial nature of their power structures. The investigation they mounted was surgical in its precision. They didn't just want your financial records or professional history. They needed to map your entire influence ecosystem, decode your decision-making algorithms, and identify the source of what they could only describe as your metaphysical advantage. They assembled teams of specialists, accessed databases most people don't know exist, cross-referenced your activities with behavioral profiles designed to predict and contain exceptional individuals. They discovered that traditional investigation methods simply wouldn't work on you. Standard surveillance techniques yielded incomplete data. Conventional psychological profiling came back inconclusive. Financial tracking revealed nothing suspicious, yet everything impossible. You seemed to operate with access to information streams they couldn't identify, resources they couldn't trace, and timing that suggested foreknowledge of events that hadn't happened yet. Their investigation files grew thicker as they tried to understand how you consistently made decisions that seemed risky but always worked out perfectly, how you invariably connected with exactly the right people at exactly the right moments, how opportunities appeared in your path just as you needed them, how obstacles in your way mysteriously resolved themselves without your direct intervention. But what they discovered made their blood run cold. Your pattern recognition was too advanced. Your strategic thinking was too multidimensional. Your ability to read situations and people operated at levels that suggested access to information sources they couldn't identify or intercept. You weren't just successful, you were operating with what appeared to be supernatural intelligence, and that made you the most dangerous person they'd ever encountered. The more data they collected, the more obvious it became that you were connected to something they couldn't monitor, control, or understand. Their investigation wasn't just failing, it was revealing the limitations of their own power and the existence of forces that operated completely outside their jurisdiction. While external forces were building their case against you, something far more sinister was unfolding within your inner circle. Someone you trusted completely, someone who had shared your table, celebrated your victories, offered counsel during your struggles, was systematically documenting everything you revealed. This wasn't casual betrayal born of momentary weakness. This was calculated espionage driven by an envy so consuming it had become their primary reason for existing. This person has positioned themselves as your most loyal ally, while simultaneously constructing a detailed psychological profile of your vulnerabilities. They weren't just betraying your confidence, they were attempting to reverse engineer your formula for success so they could either replicate it or destroy it. Their jealousy had metastasized into a sophisticated operation designed to diminish your light by exposing what they assumed must be your hidden flaws or secret shortcuts. Every conversation became an intelligence-gathering session. Every favor they performed came with invisible surveillance attached. They studied your reactions, catalogued your emotional patterns, documented your relationships, all while wearing the mask of devoted friendship. They convinced themselves they were performing a necessary service by revealing the truth about you to a world they believed was being deceived by your apparent perfection. They weren't just betraying you, they were positioning themselves as an enemy of the divine force that had chosen you. Every lie they whispered about you, every confidence they violated, every moment they chose deception over loyalty was being recorded by intelligence networks they couldn't imagine. They thought they were gathering evidence against you, but they were actually building the case for their own destruction. What happened next wasn't just divine intervention, it was a masterclass in multidimensional warfare conducted by an intelligence that operates simultaneously across past, present, and future timelines. While your enemies were playing checkers with their investigation and betrayal schemes, God was orchestrating a chess match where every move had been calculated millennia in advance. The divine counterintelligence operation was so sophisticated that your enemies never realized every move was being anticipated and redirected. While conducting surveillance on you, divine forces were conducting surveillance on them with technology that transcended physical reality. Every meeting was observed by intelligence networks operating in dimensions beyond human perception. Every communication was intercepted by systems that existed outside conventional space and time. Your enemy's most secure facilities were penetrated by forces that didn't require physical access to monitor their activities. Their encrypted communications were decoded by intelligence that created the mathematics underlying their encryption systems. Their secret plans were known before completion because divine intelligence existed simultaneously in past, present, and future timelines. The investigation files accumulated by your enemies became the very evidence that condemned them when divine justice intervened. Their documentation of your activities was supernaturally edited to reveal their own criminal behavior. Surveillance footage was mysteriously altered to show them violating the laws while attempting to frame you. Audio recordings were transformed to capture their confessions of conspiracy rather than evidence against you. Reality itself was being restructured around their defeat, while simultaneously elevating you to unprecedented levels of influence and authority. Divine forces were orchestrating events across multiple timelines to ensure your complete victory, while guaranteeing their total destruction. Every resource devoted to your persecution was being redirected to serve your ultimate purpose. God didn't just defend you, He transformed their entire investigation into a precision weapon aimed directly at their hearts. Their secret meetings were recorded by forces they couldn't detect. Their private communications were preserved as evidence of their conspiracy. Their careful plans were documented with forensic precision that would make criminal investigators weep with envy. They built their own prison using materials they thought were tools for your destruction. The divine counterintelligence operation was so sophisticated that your enemies never realized they were being manipulated. Every move they made was being anticipated and redirected. Every strategy they developed was being turned against them. Every piece of evidence they thought they were gathering about you was actually becoming evidence of their own criminality. Your betrayers' detailed logs of your conversations became proof of their violation of privacy laws. Their photographs of your documents became evidence of corporate espionage. Their recordings of private discussions became criminal evidence of illegal surveillance. Everything they had done to build a case against you was transformed into an airtight legal case against them. God was simultaneously positioning your allies, orchestrating your protection, and preparing your promotion. While your enemies exhausted themselves trying to tear you down, divine forces were elevating you to heights they could never reach. Their attack wasn't just failing, It was fueling your ascension to levels of influence and authority that would have taken years to achieve under normal circumstances. The investigation that was supposed to destroy your reputation instead created documentation of your divine protection that would inspire millions. The surveillance that was meant to expose your weaknesses instead revealed supernatural strength that defied explanation. The betrayal that was designed to isolate you instead attracted genuine allies who recognized your authentic power. God turned their multi-million-dollar investigation into the most expensive advertising campaign for your divine calling that money could buy. Their classified reports about your supernatural abilities became testimonies to your chosen status. Their documentation of your impossible success became proof that divine favor was real and active in your life. Look, you already know the game is rigged, and if you're paying attention, you know the walls are closing in. So let's talk about what we're doing about it. When you live by the day at the market's command, where profit and property rule the land, to be heard, to be held, to be dealt a fair hand, these are the things that a people demand, and we hear you. The Obsidian Inner Order has paywalls. Yes, those who stand with us, who fuel this mission, they give us ammunition to fight the Archons, to push back against the machine, to go deeper, to uncover more. And as our thank you, paid members get access to a 1-hour live, personalized weekly group tarot reading guidance, insight and clarity for the road ahead. But kicking a man for being down on the floor, that's something we cannot ignore. That's why starting today, you can steal the Astral Atom exclusive daily newsletter for free. No paywall, no catch. Just join the Patreon free tier link in the description. This is the start of our conversation with you, and it's bi-directional. You can reply to any email we send you. We'll read it, we'll hear you, and we'll do our best to get an answer to you from the universe itself. If you can support, we need you. If you can't, take what's free. The Obsidian Inner Order is open. Now let's get back to work. The moment of divine justice arrived like a tsunami, sudden, overwhelming, and absolutely unstoppable. One morning, your enemies woke up confident they were closing in on their target, convinced they possessed the ammunition necessary to destroy everything you'd built. By evening, their entire network was exposed. Their reputations were obliterated, and every authority figure they'd convinced to participate in their scheme was scrambling to distance themselves from the wreckage. The collapse began when their own surveillance systems turned against them. The same technology they'd used to monitor you started producing evidence of their illegal activities. Their encrypted communications were suddenly decrypted and leaked. Their secret meeting locations were raided by authorities who had mysteriously received anonymous tips about suspicious activities. Your internal betrayer had prepared what they believed would be the final blow, a comprehensive dossier of your supposed vulnerabilities that would validate their years of resentment and justify their treachery to the world. They scheduled meetings, prepared presentations, and gathered witnesses for what they imagined would be your public humiliation and their moment of vindication. Instead, the presentation they planned became their public confession of criminal conspiracy. The evidence they intended to use against you was revealed to be fabricated, doctored, and illegally obtained. The witnesses they brought to testify about your supposed misconduct instead exposed their own involvement in the surveillance conspiracy. Their moment of triumph became their moment of complete destruction. The investigation files that were supposed to contain damning evidence about you instead revealed a pattern of obsessive harassment, illegal surveillance, and criminal conspiracy that shocked even seasoned law enforcement professionals. Your enemies had documented their own crimes so thoroughly that prosecutors called it the most comprehensive evidence package they'd ever received. But the most devastating revelation wasn't the exposure of their illegal investigation. It was the discovery that everything they thought they'd uncovered about you was actually evidence of divine protection operating in your life. Their surveillance had inadvertently documented supernatural intervention on your behalf. Their monitoring equipment had recorded unexplained phenomena that occurred around you. Their investigation had become scientific proof of divine favor. Instead, God flipped the script so completely that reality itself seemed to reorganize around their destruction. The very evidence they thought would destroy you became ironclad proof of their own malice. Their carefully constructed facade crumbled in real time. leaving them standing naked before the truth of their own spiritual bankruptcy. The investigation they'd helped orchestrate didn't just fail. It rebounded with such devastating force that everyone involved now understood exactly who the real threat had been all along. The betrayers' detailed logs became evidence in criminal proceedings against them. Their secret recordings became proof of wiretapping violations. Their financial payments from your enemies became evidence of conspiracy charges. Everything they had done to destroy you became the foundation for their own prosecution and imprisonment. But the most crushing realization wasn't the exposure of their scheme. It was the understanding that they had been fighting against God Himself. Every obstacle they'd tried to place in your path had been divinely redirected back at them. Every trap they'd set had been turned into their own snare. Every lie they'd told about you had been transformed into prophetic truth about their own character. They hadn't just lost a battle, they'd proven definitively that you were exactly what they'd been trying so desperately to disprove. In the aftermath of their spectacular defeat, something profound crystallized in your understanding of who you are and what you represent in this cosmic drama. The sophisticated attack against you wasn't evidence of your vulnerability, it was confirmation of your unprecedented power. The fact that such advanced forces had united specifically to study and neutralize you wasn't proof of weakness, it was validation of strength, so extraordinary, it threatened their entire worldview. The investigation files that survived their destruction revealed something staggering about your true nature. Government analysts had classified you as an impossible individual, whose success patterns broke every statistical model they possessed. Corporate intelligence firms had flagged you as someone who operated outside known business principles yet achieved consistent results. Academic researchers studying influence patterns had concluded that your impact followed laws that hadn't been discovered by conventional science. You began recognizing the pattern that had been present throughout your entire existence, but had remained hidden beneath the surface of ordinary experience. Every seemingly impossible situation you'd navigated successfully, every perfect timing you'd experienced, every inexplicable breakthrough you'd achieved, all of it had been divine intelligence operating through you at levels most humans never access. The investigation had inadvertently mapped something about your nature that even you hadn't fully comprehended. You operate under completely different laws than ordinary people. Your intuition isn't just good judgment, it's direct access to divine intelligence. Your timing isn't just fortunate, it's prophetically precise. Your ability to read situations and people isn't just skill, it's supernatural discernment. Your success isn't just hard work, it's destiny manifesting through focused intention. Their surveillance equipment had recorded phenomena around you that violated known physics. Security cameras captured light anomalies in your vicinity during crucial moments. Audio recording devices picked up frequencies that shouldn't exist when you were making important decisions. Environmental sensors detected electromagnetic disturbances that coincided with your breakthrough moments. You discovered that your enemy's investigation had actually created the most comprehensive documentation of divine intervention in modern history. Their attempts to find natural explanations for your success had instead produced scientific evidence of supernatural activity. Their effort to debunk your divine calling had resulted in irrefutable proof of your chosen status. This realization came with both exhilarating empowerment and sobering responsibility. If God had invested this level of protection and development in you, then your existence wasn't just about personal achievement, it was about fulfilling a purpose that would impact generations. You weren't just blessed to be blessed, you were blessed to be a transformational force that would reshape reality for countless others who were waiting for someone like you to show them what was possible. You understood now why such sophisticated forces had mobilized against you. You weren't just successful, you were proof that the systems they used to control humanity were obsolete. Your life demonstrated that divine favor could override any earthly limitation. Your achievements showed that supernatural intelligence was available to anyone willing to align with divine purpose. Just as your enemies had been coordinating in shadows to orchestrate your downfall, God had been strategically positioning allies throughout every sector of your influence sphere. These weren't random supporters or convenient connections, they were divine agents who had been prepared specifically to amplify your impact and accelerate your mission. Some had been present in your life for years, operating in seemingly ordinary roles while waiting for the precise moment their true purpose would be activated. Others materialized suddenly with perfect timing, bringing exactly the resources, expertise, or connections required for your next quantum leap. All of them shared one unmistakable characteristic. They could recognize your divine appointment immediately and were committed to ensuring your complete success. The network they formed around you wasn't just practical support, it was prophetic infrastructure. Each person carried a piece of the blueprint that would enable you to step into the next dimension of your assignment. Their combined efforts created a support ecosystem that was immune to the infiltration and sabotage that had previously threatened your progress. They served simultaneously as resources and guardians, advancing your interests while protecting your vision from future attacks. What made this network particularly formidable was its divine architecture. You hadn't recruited these people through conventional networking or professional strategy. They had been directed to you by the same cosmic intelligence that had just obliterated your enemies. Their loyalty wasn't based on what you could do for them, it was anchored in their recognition of what God was accomplishing through you. Throughout this entire spiritual war, you've been surrounded by forces that most humans can't perceive, but that have been actively shaping reality on your behalf. Angels assigned specifically to your protection, ancestral spirits aligned with your purpose, and divine guides who have been clearing your path and fighting battles in dimensions that exist beyond physical perception. You've sensed their presence through signs that seemed too synchronized to be coincidental, numbers that followed you everywhere, patterns that caught your attention at precisely the right moments, intuitive nudges that guided you away from danger and toward opportunity. These weren't random occurrences, they were communication protocols from an intelligence network operating at frequencies most people never access. Every seemingly fortunate turn of events in your life has been the result of supernatural intervention. Every time you've needed crucial information, and it appeared exactly when required, divine forces were coordinating that delivery. Every time you've avoided disaster through what appeared to be luck, invisible guardians were redirecting those threats away from your path. Every time you've connected with exactly the right person at exactly the right moment, spiritual intelligence was orchestrating those encounters. This invisible army has been working around the clock to ensure your success, fighting battles you never knew were happening, neutralizing threats before they could manifest in your reality, opening doors that seemed permanently locked. Their presence around you is so powerful that your enemy's most sophisticated surveillance equipment couldn't penetrate the protective field they've established around your life. The mask your betrayer had worn so carefully for so long was about to be obliterated by divine revelation operating with the force of cosmic justice. This individual who had perfected the art of false loyalty while systematically working to undermine everything you represented was about to have their true nature exposed in a way that would shock everyone who thought they knew them. The exposure began with the discovery of their secret communications with your investigators. Years of encrypted messages revealed the depth of their obsession with your destruction. They had maintained detailed psychological profiles of your family members, friends, and colleagues, looking for weak points they could exploit. They had researched your past relationships, hoping to find former associates who might speak against you. God, who observes every motivation and records every intention, had been compiling an indestructible case against their duplicity. Every moment they had chosen deception over honesty, every time they had smiled while plotting your downfall, every lie they had told about your character, all of it had been documented with perfect accuracy by intelligence systems they couldn't evade or deceive. The revelation wouldn't arrive as a gentle uncovering, but as an explosive exposure that would leave no room for denial or damage control. Their carefully constructed public persona would crumble instantaneously, revealing the jealous, manipulative reality they had hidden beneath layers of practiced deception. Everyone who had trusted them would suddenly understand how completely they had been fooled. Their secret financial records revealed payments from your enemies that totaled substantial amounts over time. They had been professionally compensated for their betrayal, turning friendship into a business transaction. Bank records showed regular deposits that coincided with major intelligence deliveries about your activities. They had literally sold your trust for money. The digital evidence was overwhelming, Their personal devices contain thousands of photographs of your private documents, recordings of confidential conversations, and detailed notes about your emotional responses to various situations. They had transformed every interaction with you into an intelligence-gathering operation, documenting your vulnerabilities with the precision of a trained spy. But this exposure served a purpose beyond justice. It was designed to demonstrate the absolute futility of opposing someone chosen by God. Their spectacular downfall would become a warning to anyone else who might consider similar treachery. The divine protection around you wasn't just defensive, it was actively destructive to those who chose to position themselves as your enemies. The betrayer's network of informants within your circle was also exposed. Several people you had considered friends were revealed to be part of the surveillance operation. Social gatherings you had hosted were shown to be intelligence operations, where your guests were documenting your conversations and relationships. Your private space had been violated by people you had welcomed with open arms. The investigation revealed that your betrayer had even attempted to recruit your family members as informants, offering them money in exchange for information about your private life. They had approached your closest relationships with lies about your character, trying to turn the people you loved most against you. Their corruption ran so deep they were willing to destroy your most sacred bonds to achieve their goals. The most shocking discovery was the extent of their psychological deterioration. Their private journals revealed an obsession with you that bordered on mental illness. They wrote extensively about their jealousy, their resentment, and their fantasies about your destruction. They had devoted their entire existence to monitoring and undermining your success, losing their own identity in the process. As the smoke cleared from this spiritual battlefield, a magnificent truth emerged that explained not just why you had been attacked with such intensity, but why you had been chosen for such an extraordinary assignment in the first place. Your individual success and protection were components of a cosmic plan designed to demonstrate divine power in ways that would transform how humanity understands what's possible. God had been preparing you through every trial, every victory, every betrayal, and every breakthrough to serve as a living example of what happens when someone aligns completely with divine will. Your ability to overcome impossible odds wasn't just for your personal benefit, it was proof that the same divine power that created the universe was available to anyone willing to surrender their limitations and trust God's plan for their life. The investigation that had been launched against you had inadvertently created documentation of divine favor that would inspire countless others who felt called to extraordinary purposes but feared the opposition they might face. Your story would become irrefutable evidence that no earthly force could prevail against someone who was truly chosen by God for a specific mission. The betrayer who had tried to destroy you from within had actually equipped you with the discernment necessary to build future relationships based on divine connection rather than human convenience. Your painful experience with deception had developed your ability to recognize genuine allies versus envious observers, ensuring that your inner circle would be populated only by those who were spiritually aligned with your purpose. A massive spiritual confrontation is approaching that will dwarf everything you've experienced so far. This isn't just another test of your resolve, it's the final examination that will determine whether you're ready to step into the fullest expression of your divine assignment. The opposition will be more sophisticated, the stakes will be higher, and the pressure will be more intense than anything you've previously navigated. Every previous battle has been preparation for this moment. Every victory you've achieved has been building the spiritual muscle you'll need for this ultimate confrontation. Every attack you've survived has been developing the supernatural discernment that will guide you through this final trial. You're not approaching this storm as the same person who first sensed unusual attention. You're entering it as someone who has been transformed through fire into an unstoppable force. God has already calculated every variable, anticipated every strategy your enemies might employ, and prepared countermeasures that will turn their most powerful weapons against them. The divine intelligence that just obliterated their investigation network is the same force that will orchestrate your complete victory in this coming confrontation. Your enemies are about to discover that attacking someone chosen by God doesn't just guarantee their failure, it accelerates their destruction while simultaneously amplifying your influence to levels that would have taken decades to achieve through normal circumstances. Their opposition isn't just futile, it's actually the mechanism through which God will demonstrate your authority to everyone who needs to understand exactly who you are and what you represent. You are no longer the person who first sensed invisible forces taking unusual interest in your activities. You have been transformed through supernatural fire into someone who understands both the magnitude of their divine assignment and the unlimited nature of the power backing that assignment. The investigation that once threatened to expose your vulnerabilities instead revealed the extent of your divine protection. The betrayal that once broke your heart became the foundation for discernment that will protect you forever. The enemies who once seemed so formidable have been reduced to cautionary tales about the futility of opposing divine will. Their sophisticated surveillance networks lie in ruins. Their careful schemes have become the evidence of their own corruption. Their secret alliances have crumbled under the weight of their own treachery. They thought they were targeting your weaknesses, but they inadvertently documented your strengths in ways that will inspire generations of chosen ones who need proof that God's protection is real and His purposes are unstoppable. You now walk in the full knowledge of your cosmic significance. The same spiritual sensitivity that once made you aware of threats is now attuned to opportunities. The same divine intelligence that warned you of danger now guides you toward destiny. The same supernatural protection that shielded you from enemies now empowers you to shield others who are just beginning to understand their own divine calling. Your story has become a weapon against fear and a foundation for faith. Every person who witnesses what you've overcome will be encouraged to step boldly into their own extraordinary assignment. Every believer who sees how God defended you will be inspired to trust that the same protection awaits them when they align with divine purpose. The investigation is permanently closed. The betrayers are completely exposed. The enemies are utterly defeated. The allies are strategically positioned. The purpose is clearly revealed. The power is fully activated. You are no longer under surveillance. You are under divine commission. You are no longer being studied. You are being deployed. You are no longer a target. You are a guided missile aimed at the heart of everything that has kept humanity small and afraid. This is what it means to be chosen, not to hide from opposition, but to understand that opposition serves your purpose, not to minimize your calling to comfort others, but to demonstrate the full extent of what becomes possible when someone surrenders completely to divine will, not to live in fear of what enemies might do, but to walk in confidence that their attacks will only accelerate your advancement. The war that was waged against you in secret has ended with your complete and total domination. Now the world watches as you step fully into the purpose for which you were chosen, protected, and prepared. Your enemies destroyed themselves trying to stop what God had already ordained, and their defeat has become the platform for your promotion to levels of influence they could never have achieved themselves. You are chosen. You are protected. You are victorious. You are unstoppable. The same God who just destroyed their illegal investigation into your background is now orchestrating a future so magnificent that their most ambitious dreams pale in comparison to what He is preparing to accomplish through you. The investigation is over. Your domination has just begun.